What's up, big soccer heads? I'm Eric Krakauer. This is Transfer Wire, and it is that time of the week when we use stocks to evaluate the latest transfer rumors. And we begin this week with a rise in the Paul Pogba to Real Madrid stock. According to the English tabloid The Sun, a credible source, the La Liga giants have offered Manchester United 4 players: Martin Odegaard, James Rodriguez, Lucas Vazquez, and Brahim Diaz, in exchange for the 27-year-old World Cup winner. If you go by Transfer Market's valuations, Real Madrid would essentially be willing to offer $120 million worth of players in return for one worth just under $90 million. That $30 million disparity may seem glaring, but it really isn't that much if you consider that 3 of the players Los Blancos are willing to part with, James, Vazquez, and Brahim, are reportedly surplus to Zidane's plans anyway. And out of the 3, James is by far the most valuable, worth somewhere between 35 and 45 million. Up to that point, the deal makes sense for Real Madrid, especially since the club wants to shed James' wages. However, Odegaard's inclusion is very likely the piece that makes this deal implausible. That is, unless Real Madrid's desire to lure Pogba to the Bernabeu completely trumps footballing common sense. Apart from Leo Messi and Karim Benzema, no player has lit up La Liga like the 21-year-old. Odegaard has been central to Imanol Alguacil's project at Real Sociedad, and it is unquestionable that the Norwegian wonder kid is finally living up to the hype that has followed him since he joined the club at 16. Now, there is some uncertainty whether Odegaard will remain at La Real for another season. Reports are that the player basically suggested as much to his parent club, but ultimately, Real Madrid has the final say. However, that's not even the most important part of this whole thing, since, from a financial point of view, Real Madrid would be throwing away money if they used Odegaard as a make-weight, given that his value is only going to increase. Remember, he's 21 and amazing at kicking a ball. Let's consider, though, just for a second, that Real Madrid have lost their marbles and the offer really is on the table. Would it be a good deal for the Red Devils? I certainly think it would, only because Odegaard is being served up on a silver platter. In my opinion, Manchester United haven't had a player with the Norwegians' flair since a certain Cristiano Ronaldo departed the club. One who could ignite and excite with a drop of the shoulder. And while it has been reported that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, also Norwegian, is excited to see Pogba and Bruno Fernandes play together, I would make the case that Odegaard and Fernandes would make for a more appealing combo. Not to mention that Manchester United would be cutting ties with a player who has caused the club more than a fair share of headaches. Although I think many would agree that Pogba has too often been used as a scapegoat for much bigger problems. It's worth noting as well that the other 3 players involved in the trade could come in very handy, especially Brahim Diaz, who I think is seriously undervalued. But moving on. The Lautaro Martinez to Barcelona stock has finally crashed. Yes, very disappointing Blaugrana fans. The prospect of Lautaro landing in Catalonia as the heir apparent to Luis Suarez was indeed thrilling. But as I noted last week, Barcelona's budgetary limitations made the move nearly impossible, and the players consistently being offered in exchange simply weren't enough to compel Inter to greenlight the deal. That point was made by Inter sporting director Piero Ausilio, who claimed this week that the Argentine is not for sale and that if Barca want him, they'll have to trigger his release clause, which is set at around 120 million. We may have reached the end of this saga once and for all, even if we're far from seeing an end to stories related to Barcelona's much-needed fire sale, despite the fact that the stock is down on anyone leaving Camp Nou. Either because players simply don't want to give up on their extravagant wages, which in all likelihood wouldn't be matched anywhere else, think Coutinho, for example, or because they believe they still have a role to play at the club, a la Artur Melo, or because they're not especially enamored with potential destinations. Rakitic. All in all, Barcelona are in a tough situation, and it will take some strategic acrobatics to get them out of it. We'll end this week's Transfer Wire with 2 soaring stocks, both involving PSG. Starting with Mauro Icardi, who could very well be a permanent fixture in Paris by the end of the week. Apparently, all that talk about Wanda, his wife and agent, claiming that Mauro wanted to return to Italy was all rubbish. Who would have guessed that? Club and player are close to tying up a 4-year deal worth somewhere between 10 and 12 million a year, which all but guarantees that Edinson Cavani will be bidding adieu to his home of 7 years and where he is the club's leading scorer. Finally, it seems that FC Porto's Alex Telus will be joining Icardi and co in Paris, with Portuguese daily A Bola reporting that a $28 million offer for the Brazilian has been accepted. It had been widely reported that Telus was on his way to Chelsea, where Frank Lampard is in dire need of a left back. The signing is a boost for Arsenal though, as it means that Layvin Kurzawa will likely be the odd fullback out at PSG. The French international has been linked with the Gunners for a few weeks, but there are plenty of suitors interested in the former Monaco man. If you're a PSG supporter and are not familiar with Telus, you'll be happy to know that he is an excellent two-way fullback with a nose for goal. But what do I know? Stay up to date with all the latest transfer rumors by logging on to beInsports.com.